And welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us. 109 on this cloudy Thursday afternoon. Temperature is not too bad right now, 72 degrees, but it is a little on the windy side as south winds are at times gusting over 30 miles per hour, as well as some scattered showers and some thunderstorms in eastern North Dakota pushing into northwest Minnesota. We'll have a rundown on the forecast coming up here in just a moment. Numbers for the program today, same as yesterday, 701-293-9000 if you want to call us on the Red Wing Shoes shoe line. And yesterday, we were trying to figure out different words you could come together with texting by keys, Bridgette, and I put it through a generator, and it's really funny that it's 9,000 like the screaming goat.
I don't know if I can go with this or not.
It's
Currently,
AWE 9,000.
I'm okay with not. But
How about A 9,000?
yeah,
A.
I'm at Devil's Lake. I'm closer to Canada, so the A seems appropriate. I'm just that much further north today.
You can call us at A 9,000, eh?
That's right.
Bridgette, how's your day going today?
You said rain showers, and it has been off and
Indeed.
on here. I'm in Devil's Lake. I am at NDSU's Farm Safety Camp. NDSU Extension puts this on. There are 16 kids. Right now, I am watching 2 of them do the tractor driving course. They've got some smaller horsepower tractors that they're moving around out here. There's a whole course set up with orange cones. Gentlemen, this looks like you should have been here today to take this course before we keep our Here We Grow farming going.
I'd run.
You'd have enjoyed this.
I'd plow over every cone they have out there.
Yeah, at lunch there was a discussion about who hit what cones, who drove up on the curb. The Addison's got that up on our live stream. They're moving really slow. They're not allowed to take things at full speed.
And there's no way Justin could handle it because he just got back from a 3-martini lunch.
Yeah.
He's not in the best
We're
of shape.
here in spirit.
Spirits is correct. One too many spirits.
Just enough to know how to run a soundboard.
There you go.
And click all the
by the way,
buttons.
I visited with the kids while they sat down to have lunch, and they are truly enjoying this. There are typically a lot of 14, 15-year-old kids here for this. It's capped out at 16 students per class. All of them have some farm experience, but have said the things that they have learned about ATVs, UTVs, the tractor driving. This morning I watched a demonstration with live PTOs and also, power takeoff units, hydraulics. It was important. The kids said there's a lot of eye-opening moments they didn't consider, even though they've been around it all their lives. And they all go home with a new helmet for ATVs and UTVs. I thought that was a great addition to their cost of attending their camp. So good for those kids. They're going to have a good time.
Indeed it is. That's super cool. We got some fun things coming up on the show today. We got Nicholas in studio with us from the Red River Valley Bomb Squad. We're going to be talking about how farming and explosives can go together, apparently. So that's going to be a fun conversation. Very exciting.
What happens if a goat gets too close to an explosive?
Whoa!
That's what it sounds like?
I'm thinking that's probably what it sounds like.
Okay.
And that's our phone line as well as the Screaming Goat 9000.
Speaking of phone line, we got Chemtrail John on line 1.
Indeed we do.
Chemtrail John, what's going on this Thursday?
I'm deeply troubled and concerned.
And what are you concerned about? What's
Well,
troubling
first
you?
of all, Wysocki. First of all, if anyone should attend a safety operators course, it would be dented header Wysocki.
He still hasn't fixed that header, by the way, Dean.
We'll get to it. And that's what insurance is for.
Yeah. The other thing is I'm driving all around the countryside looking for Justin's relatives because I heard there's some isolated storms out there.
Oh,
yeah. Indeed, there is. That's a good one, John. I like it.
Nice, John.
Well,
Very
like
nice.
the chopped liver, I'm here all week. So, but the thing that's troubling me the most, and when we had the phone malfunction, I was calling in to talk about this and get you guys' take. Have you noticed lately everything that happens? Mid-air turbulence events, goats running wild, small children stuck in trees, are all being attributed to what? climate change?
Mm.
Can anybody break this down for me? I'm really confused.
Well, it's very simple, John. The reason why kids are getting stuck in trees is because of global warming.
It's cooler there.
Okay.
That's the reason. It's hotter, the trees are growing taller, the kids can't climb back down.
Oh, that's... Well, there you go. Ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer.
That's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head there.
Okay, well, I'm going to go out and continue looking for Justin's relatives because I'm deeply troubled and concerned.
Let us know if you find any.
See you later. Bye, John.
Hey, speaking
good
of
luck.
speaking of listeners with questions, by the way, one of our faithful YouTube watchers, Steve, he sent a link to me this morning. He had a concern about what looked a fire happened at a chicken barn and egg facility. This was in Illinois, I believe. And he said, "Okay, does it seem like this is happening more often?" He said, "I don't want to be a
Yes.
conspiracy theorist about it."
I'm going all down the rabbit hole at this point. Turkey is $7 a pound now. That is outrageous.
I know you will. It will be 79 cents a pound at Thanksgiving, people. Seasons matter. Seasons matter. You know that. But when we talk about the chickens and the barn, like I pointed out to Steve, just remember these may be older facilities. I don't know. I didn't see the size of the barn. The amount of chicken and egg that's going to be affected in there is probably a blip on the radar for the amount of processing that we do on a daily basis. So let's not scream egg prices and chicken prices are going up. They'll find another reason to do that. And you have a barn with tiny fuzzy chicks or feathers. You have warming lamps, and you generally have open waterers. So you have an ignition source, you have something that can go up in flames, and you have water all at the same time.
Well,
I'm
then this should
surprised it
happen
doesn't
more
happen
often
more.
then. Yeah, I would say it should happen
I'm
more
actually
often.
surprised.
Well, you'd think with the
Yeah,
amount of
it's
fires
possible.
and things burning to the ground, you'd think everything would be brand new at this point.
There's a lot of older barns out there. I don't think we necessarily realize that things that were built in the 70s are now considered older. Imagine that, right?
My
That
house
dairy
was
parlor
built
my
in the
folks
70s.
my folks built the barn in 79 and it's now actually considered older. And some of those things are not even insurable anymore. So
no.
Well, then
yeah,
what
things
is
like this will happen.
what does that put us in? Antique?
We're vintage,
What's
Steve.
past?
Vintage is
What's
okay.
past antique here? Come on, Dean.
Yeah, vintage.
Vintage.
Personally speaking,
Dirty
I'm still
grass.
15, but I have my own pickup right here.
Well, let's see. A couple ag topics we'll get to in the back half of our show. For today, we'll be talking about all the noise that's going on with the cicadas down to our south and east, as well as some tips to stretch hay supplies. And some chickens are just more efficient than others. So we're going to find out all the chirping details on those and more. And if you want to be a part of the conversation today, feel free to give us a call like John did. 701-293-9000. Emails, a lot of you utilize that, weather or ag at flagfamily.com. And to our religious viewers over there on Facebook and YouTube Live, yes, Steve, we see you over there. Thank you. We appreciate it. You can comment away on there. Now, we're going to take a short break here, get caught up with the American Ag Network. But when we come back, we got Nick in studio with us from the Red River Valley Bomb Squad. We got all sorts of questions we're going to fire away at them. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. And it's a day for my Red Wing shoes to be out and about, you might say. Thanks to Red Wing for being one of our sponsors for our Here We Grow project. Teresa and her group do a fantastic job of outfitting us. And if I'm at NDSU's Farm Safety Camp today, I thought it was highly appropriate to wear my Red Wings. And I think this is going to tie into our conversation. North Dakota State Service is also one of our Here We Grow sponsors. And really, if you're passing things down through generations on the farm, maybe it shouldn't be the dynamite in the basement. And that brings in our guest, Nicholas Leinen. Nicholas is with the Red River Valley Bomb Squad. I was so excited when you messaged me, farming with dynamite. That's essentially what we're going to talk about, right?
Absolutely.
What kind of crops do you grow with dynamite? I know it's a fertilizer, but
well, no. There's a fertilizer. There's ammonium nitrate.
yeah,
That's not dynamite.
Was it nitroglycerate too? Isn't that a fertilizer?
All right, Nicholas, you can see we need some education.
We're
Where would you like to
novices over
start?
here.
Absolutely.
Okay, what do you got?
Yeah, so in the olden times, right? In the 50s and 60s, it was much more, even before that, much more popular to use dynamite for basic ag use. We didn't have the equipment, right? Now we
Right.
got skid steers and excavators and do all this stuff. Well, then they didn't have that equipment, and a lot of dynamite was used to boost rocks, break rocks, clear land, stumps. It was used quite a bit in agriculture.
And what was the mortality rate on that?
I have no statistics on
No,
that. No.
I can't. All right.
All right, everyone, stand 10 feet back.
So Nick and I both have the same old DuPont memorabilia, if you will, that talks about farming with dynamite. And I want to get to some of those uses. But first of all, tell us about the Bomb Squad and kind of your mission with why you're interested in what's going on in ag these days.
So the Red River Regional Bomb Squad's based out of Fargo. We are a regional team, so there's members from every agency kind of in the metro area. There's 4 bomb squads in the state of North Dakota, Bismarck, Grand Forks, Minot, and then us. And we all kind of take a corner of the state as far as hazardous device response. The reason I guess I think this is important is in the 50s and 60s, you could purchase dynamite and blasting caps relatively easily from like a farm store or even some hardware stores. It was, the regulations were different. It was used. It had a purpose, but the problem is that stuff sitting over time becomes no longer stable, and unfortunately some people get hurt, and it can be dangerous. So we do respond to in our coverage area, we do respond and recover these items every year.
It's that frequent yet that we're still finding it. And let's talk about the dangerous. I mean, how much dynamite in the basement is a bad idea? Probably any, is my guess.
Sure. So when it was originally purchased, the purpose, what they were supposed to do is consume it all within that day. So if they purchased 10 sticks of dynamite, it was supposed to be consumed, or they were supposed to use it. Well, as farmers like to keep things, a lot of that didn't get consumed, and then it got put in a storage shed or in a basement or even attics. We've had it in attics. So that original dynamite, the shelf life is about 1 year, and now we're talking 50, 60 years, and it can become unstable or even more unstable. The nitroglycerin in the dynamite will actually leach out of the stick, if you will, and become very, very sensitive to shock, mainly shock.
And Nick,
Okay. Explain that right there. You said the stick and the nitroglyceride. What's actually in the stick of dynamite? Because my closest example of that is the stick that they used again with the Roadrunner on Looney Tunes, right? So what should I be envisioning when I talk about dynamite and a blasting cap? Sorry, Dean, but I'm like, tell me what's actually in there.
Sure. So in a stick of dynamite, I should preface it, they don't make nitroglycerin-based dynamite anymore. They've come up with education and science, they've come up with a better system. But the original dynamite that we're referring to, that that becomes unstable is nitroglycerin and then some type of an absorbent. So there'll be 60% nitroglycerin and it could be sawdust, some type of absorbent material that they mix together and then they put in the casing or in the stick, if you will. What happens is over time, moisture gets absorbed into that absorbent and it leaches out or pushes out the nitroglycerin. And the nitroglycerin dries, becomes crystallized, and becomes dangerous. But traditionally, a good stick of dynamite, you can whack it on the table, you can do all kinds of stuff with it, nothing's going to happen to it. It's only sensitive to a blasting cap that has to be inserted into it.
Now, Nick, how is dynamite used nowadays in agriculture?
Not as much. I guess I don't have a lot of information on how it is used now. Basically, what we're dealing with is more of the recovering the old stuff.
Okay.
There are still commercial blasters that use it for, in our general, well, not in our area, but in the western part of the state for mining.
Okay.
It still can be used also in the oil field in different versions, not necessarily dynamite, but explosives are used in that operation. As far as finding a commercial blaster now that does agriculture, unfortunately, I don't have any information on that.
So this old style of dynamite, how long or how far back does it go before that switch to the new generation of dynamite that's not as sensitive and more stable? When did that transition happen?
In the late 70s or early 70s.
Okay.
Within the 70s.
So then are you still dealing with calls or situations where you're recovering some form of old dynamite, that unstable version from back then? Does any of that still come up once in a while, or is it kind of gone for the most part?
I believe that there is some in the country still, that we still have some out there that maybe stayed in a climate-controlled area long enough where it remained stable. Time will tell. The dynamite is one thing, but blasting caps, we've just recovered some this year that were kind of left over from the previous generation. Still dangerous, still needs to be recovered and dealt with appropriately. And also det cord or detonating cord. We've recovered some of that as well.
Okay, so what's the procedure when you're doing this? What has to be done, and how do you do it to get rid of it properly and safely?
So if it's stable and it's in good condition, we have the ability to transport it. We have a trailer, a containment vessel that we can use, and a couple different mitigation techniques. We'll try to move it off that site, take it to a site in which we can destroy it, and we essentially countercharge it or place our own explosives on it and make it go away.
Okay.
Now, in terms of explosives, do you run into, how about grenades?
Yes, grenades. Also, regulation with in the military, in the pre-Vietnam, there was no regulation on what you brought back. So we have recovered
Really?
a lot of grenades, some very interesting things.
I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this grenade, but I brought it home. Look, Mom. Oh my God.
It was a different time.
What other interesting things? You didn't elaborate on that.
Just all kinds of interesting things.
Landmines.
Yeah.
No, none of that. We're very blessed that we have the Air Guard EOD right up in North Fargo. So if it's anything military and we recover, we get to work with them. We work close with them, and because it's technically considered, U.S. government property if it comes from the military. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a pile of questions. I have been writing stuff down. I am getting messages for you, Nick. So we're going to have plenty more to talk about. But you certainly sparked my attention when you contacted us about coming on to talk about farming and dynamite. And we will do that. Maybe that's the way you guys can get some cloud seeding done over there, weather boys.
There you
We'll
go.
see. But we will continue to talk to Nick. It is 1:30 in the afternoon. Stay tuned. This conversation will be rather explosive. Oh, welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. It has been a great afternoon of visiting with Nick Leinen. Nick is with the Red River Valley Bomb Squad, and we've been talking about farming with dynamite because you probably shouldn't be doing it. And so, Nick, you and I, oddly enough, have a copy of the same old literature piece from DuPont called Farming with Dynamite. And to help answer Dean's question, what would this have been used for? Chief uses at the time, and this was, by the way, this was advertised as Red Cross Dynamite. So you could also write for your additional copy of the Handbook of Explosives for Farmers, Planters, and Ranchers. But this says clearing of land for stumps, trees, and boulders, breaking up the hard pan. So if you had overly hard compaction in a field, plowing, planting and cultivating an orchard, digging ditches, post holes, wells, and reservoirs, road making, excavating cellars and foundation trenches, and just regenerating old worn out farms. And I don't know if they mean they just blew the whole thing up and started over again.
Start from scratch, man.
It's one way to do it.
Yeah. Start from scratch.
We're done. We're just starting over here.
Get your insurance money and run with it. I don't know what happened. It just blew up.
Okay, so first of all, as a guy on the bomb squad, we can't still go out and buy. Like if I'm going to TSC later, Nick, you said I can't just go out and buy this, right? I got to find somebody who can do this for me now. Would that be fair?
Yeah, there's the regulations are vast now as compared to the way it was 70 years ago. But yeah, it would have to be like a commercial blaster, and they follow a host of different regulations.
Oh my gosh. Okay. A question that I got was, let's say Grandma and Grandpa retired, moved to town, and the family was going through the house or the barn, and they do find some old dynamite or what they think is dynamite. How do they proceed, Nick?
It's a great question. You're going to want to start with your local law enforcement agency. So say it's the county that covers your law enforcement in the area that you're in. You start with a call to them. They make a referral to us through our dispatch center here in Fargo, and then we would respond if it's in our coverage area.
I've been asked, is it legal? I mean, some people are afraid to call because they think they'll get in trouble or fined for actually having this.
Right. So we take a stance pretty much on education. Our goal is to get it recovered. If you have a bunch of explosives and you don't have the appropriate permitting for it and you don't have a storage facility and somebody gets hurt, then other agencies are going to start asking questions, three-letter agencies. So yeah, because there's storage now. The ATF they're responsible for all storage. So if technically you have explosives, it needs to be stored properly, and you have to have the permitting for it. Back then, when this was purchased, that didn't exist. That didn't start till the 70s, as far as when they really got involved in the storage part of it. So it's we're not looking to vilify anybody, but the concern is this stuff gets really unstable and people can get hurt, maimed, injured, and our goal is to get it recovered and have that be safe.
Are the blasting caps alone a cause for concern, or do you need the old blasting cap and the dynamite? That was another question that I got.
Sure. If that dynamite is stable, meaning it hasn't been compromised, it hasn't all leached out, a blasting cap is needed to, in theory, detonate it or to propagate it. Blasting caps themselves can be dangerous because they were made out of copper, and we all know what copper does. Turns green and tarnishes, and so copper blasting caps themselves, the old ones that we're talking about that were used in this era, they can become compromised as well. So we recover those frequently.
I see. And how does tannerite stand up against dynamite? What's the difference in force? Because it's still legal to buy tannerite, isn't it? Or do you need to have a permit to do that as well?
No, it's legal.
Okay. So how does that stand against dynamite and the power? Or
yeah,
I don't know if you know what I'm trying to get at. Just comparing the two, I guess.
Yeah, I do. I don't. I guess I don't have the feet per second numbers to establish it. You would need much more tannerite to meet the feet per second or the explosive rate of dynamite. But yeah, tannerite is legal. A lot of a lot of times, folks will make poor decisions and blend a lot of it together, and put it in a single container, and then it becomes, by mass, it's cumulative.
Right.
And it can be dangerous. But no, it's legal to purchase.
Okay.
I've purchased tannerite, and plenty of farmers do, especially if you have cattle and you want to get rid of like beaver dams. Maybe it's in a water area where you can't easily get in there with, say, equipment. Like earlier, we heard, the mention of skid steers, excavators, and that type of thing. So maybe that's a question for DNR, or excuse me, Game and Fish, I should call them. But I think that's also been a use for tannerite as of late, anyway.
Yeah, I've seen
something along those lines.
I've seen people, YouTube videos where they fill a small coffee can or the little 12-ounce can full of tannerite, and then they go and they shoot it out in the woods or out in the field, and the thing just explodes. So I didn't know if there was, what the comparison was to a stick of dynamite versus a can of tannerite, or if you needed, 20 gallons of it to equal a stick of dynamite or something like that.
Yeah, without getting...
What are you planning?
I was just wondering.
Without getting too technical, it's to be a high explosive, it's a certain feet per second that it's moving that creates that. So tannerite isn't. It's an explosive, exploding target, but it's considered a low explosive. So
Right. So it doesn't hit that speed to be categorized as
a high explosive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So when you said the procedure for people should call you, what if they just don't know what it is? Would you rather this be a safe than sorry if, for instance, they say, well, I think I have some bags of old fertilizer that might be a problem? Is that the same steps, Nick, as to give you a call and try to sort that out?
So we work closely with the hazmat departments. To be a bomb technician, you got to be a hazmat operator. So we've all been through it, but we work real close with our hazmat folks, so like Fargo Hazmat, for example. So if somebody's got something that they don't know if it's explosive, but they don't know quite what it is, the hazmat department or the hazmat division, they have the ability to test things, and we can know diagnostically what it is. But it would be the same procedure. Also, photos are good. So I always tell people, don't put yourself in additional danger, but if you've moved this suspicious item and you carried it and you put it in your car and now you set it down, it happens. Snap a picture of it, because picture's worth 1,000 words, and that can help us diagnose it as we're getting prepared to take care of it.
That just seems crazy. I don't know what this is. I'll put it in the car and drive it around. No, don't do that.
Yeah, they often get brought to the law enforcement center, and then we get called there to deal with them. So,
fertilizer. When folks hear about ammonium nitrate, which was most closely associated with what happened in the Oklahoma City bombing, it is not the same as what we use today when we talk about like ammonium sulfates or something like that. Do you have a lot of concern, because we don't use much ammonium nitrate up here? Do you have concerns, Nick, or have you ever gotten a call on something like that?
No, I think what you're referring to is, after Oklahoma City, there was a major push. So what would be considered ag grade ammonia nitrate is coated, because ANFO, ANFO, ammonium nitrate and fuel oil. That's what was used in Oklahoma City. So the current ag-related stuff won't do the same thing. There's specific blasting grade ammonia nitrate that they use in the mining industry. It's still a very viable use explosive, but it's different, and it's regulated, and they have to have certain storage facilities for it.
When you come out to pick up this material, folks are curious. Do you bring the little robot? Does somebody wear the big stuffed suit like we saw on Chips in the 70s and all the old police TV shows? Justin doesn't even know what Chips is. I'll explain it to him later. So,
Sure. Yeah. So we may we have all those capabilities. We prefer to start remote and stay remote is kind of a motto that we have. So we may start with the robot, get a peek at it before we put a person down there. But ultimately, it all depends on the condition it's in and where it's at. So if this thing if it's a box of blasting caps that is in relatively good shape and it's been moved 4 times by somebody, we're pretty comfortable putting it in our vessel with very little safety protocol. But if it's all stuck together in a big clump, or it's degraded or crystallized, then we're going to use all safety measures up into. It's not on. We necessarily haven't done it here, but I know my partners across the country have actually had to burn down a small shed or a building because how degraded it is. It's completely unsafe to move.
Sure.
Have you run into an experience where you just couldn't figure out what it was, or something that really what's the most, I don't want to use the word scariest experience, but what's the strangest experience you've come across?
Man, I wasn't expecting that.
That's an off the wall question, wasn't it?
It was. I guess anything with the unknown. So we have a fair amount of diagnostic equipment to include X-ray systems. So there's really not a lot that we don't know what's going on. I would say probably in the industry, it's homemade explosives.
Right.
We would call it HME. So anything that some chemist is making in their garage we have no idea what's in it. I would say 100% that's the scariest thing in our line of work.
But X-rays, and you've got the technology, obviously.
Yes, the X-rays to take a sample of it and then use the diagnostic equipment to try to figure out what's in it and then make a plan from there.
So I'm sure it probably.
I want to know.
Go ahead, Bridgette.
Oh, go ahead, Justin. No, go ahead, Justin.
I was going to say, I'm sure it probably depends on exactly what it is that you find out you're dealing with, but how do you diffuse a situation like that if you get called up on a live threat and you come across this, you verify, yes, this is indeed an explosive. How do you defuse that situation and make sure it doesn't accidentally go off or, hopefully not trigger detected or something like that?
Yeah, mitigate it. That's pretty much all our job is, to try to mitigate as much amount of danger. At some point, that thing's going to go off, but the goal is that we are doing it in a safe area. Everybody's been evacuated. The area can withstand the detonation, meaning, there isn't a 12-inch natural gas pipeline or something like that.
Right.
So yeah, we're gonna mitigate that. We do through our federal resources. They do have ECM that we can literally create a bubble where no radio signals can get in or out. That's something that we can call for an additional resource if we are concerned that it's a radio type of
Right,
device.
like a jamming
Wow.
device?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow, very interesting.
Okay, so when you've come across some of this old material, whether it's dynamite, grenades, etc., how much? What's the biggest cache you've come across of all these things?
It's not that much. I was trying to recall, because I've been doing this for 15 years now, so all the years kind of blend together. But it wasn't much more than a handful of sticks of dynamite at a time. Blasting caps that number goes up. Like we've recovered like 100 blasting caps, just because they don't take up as much room, and I think they're more easily lost in somebody's shed. But
And Nick, so what kind of training? We had an email question. Well, it's a two-part email question. Really? First off, what kind of training do you need to do what you do? And the second part of the question was, is it the red wire or the blue wire that you cut? Come on.
always the red wire.
Always the red wire. Okay.
Good question on the training. So yeah, once you're selected from your host agency, and we have a spot open here in our squad, it's a 6-week training in Huntsville, Alabama. FBI is responsible for all the industry standards in the training. So it's a 6-week initial, 280 hours of training here locally every year to maintain our accreditation.
Oh, every year. Oh,
every
okay.
year. And then we have to, every 3 years, we have to recertify, go back to Alabama for a week to recertify.
I got
So
one more here. Then, Bridgette, I know you had a listener question that came in. In the years you've been doing this, how have things changed from what threats and explosives were 10, 15 years ago to what they are today? Are they getting smaller? Are they getting more strength behind them? Are they more concealed or harder to detect what they are because there's more options? How have things changed since from when you had started in this line of work to where we're at today with different threats?
So I would say in our region, it really hasn't changed a lot. I would say across the bomb tech society or world in the United States, it's a change just with the this YouTube, for example. So you can go on YouTube on how to. Yep. So I think that there's a lot more information out there, and folks are dabbling with playing around with making that kind of stuff. That would be like more concerning, or that's the most concerning thing that's changed in our general area. We deal with some pipe bombs here and there, generally not in a malicious intent. It's more of somebody thinking it's a good idea.
Right, I'm gonna make this and go throw it in a gravel pit and make it explode.
Correct. Yep. And then it doesn't function, and we get called for.
Right. Okay.
Oh, yikes. So last question here from a listener. Nick, do you still jump, or do you eventually get numb to things exploding big around you?
Oh, you always jump.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, especially depending on the size of the blast. But no, it's always a surprise still.
Is life insurance hard? Is life insurance hard to get?
I don't know that I disclosed.
Okay.
What do you do? K9 unit, it's fine. So thank you so much, Nick, for joining us today. This has been great information. One more time before we take a commercial break, and that is, if people find something in the old house on the farm, how do they get rid of it? Who do they call?
Yep. Start with your local law enforcement agency, the city or municipality, or the sheriff's office. Start with that call. Explain and what is going on, and then they have the protocol, their dispatchers, to get a hold of us.
Awesome. Thank you again, Nick. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. We still need to touch on the weather. Those isolated storms, they're Justin's cousins. They're out running around there somewhere.
Watch out for them. They'll get you.
Be right back.
And welcome back to the program. 1:54 on this Thursday afternoon. We'll get a rundown on the forecast coming up in just a moment. Just got done visiting with Nicholas Leinen from the Red River Valley Bomb Squad, farming with explosives and just kind of everything around. A very interesting conversation. Good guest, Bridgette. Good find on getting Nicholas in here today.
Oh, great. Shout out to Nick. He reached out to me and said, I like what you guys talk about. And we would love to bring more awareness to people to get these things out of their farmsteads. So here we are.
Yeah,
Pardon me.
indeed. Well, why don't we switch topics from explosives and get onto something a little more annoying. And that's
We're
all
talking
the
about you?
noise. Well, you can't get rid of me at least for another 4 minutes, so you're stuck with me now. I'm talking about the cicadas. What's going on with the cicada bloom down to the south?
There's a lot, and I have been just enjoying following folks from like Illinois who are talking about them because I'm not there. These cicadas are so loud that their decibel level is similar to a jackhammer in some cases. They are just annoying. But what do they really do? Well, cicadas like the same trees we
I
like.
ask
Oaks,
Dean that
maples.
question every day.
What I like to do?
No, what do you even do?
So they pretty much just go around and lay their eggs on their favorite trees, and the trees are looking for something that's a woody species that's larger than the diameter of a pencil. Well, what they then do is they tunnel to the surface. Their tunnels create more soil aeration and ways for water to infiltrate the soil. Their egg laying gives a natural pruning to trees, and which helps the tree do a better job the next year of fruit production or blossoming. And then when they die, they're literally a natural fertilizer. Their little bodies stay there. They are a food source for birds, other insects, and I'm told humans. So if there was a time to be a part of the cicada buffet, this would be your summer. Going to want to head on south and find them. And I'm good. I had beef for lunch. I'm very good.
I've seen a lot of I don't want to call them advertisements, but on either YouTube or on Facebook on some of these restaurants down in Illinois and points southward that are offering these on their menu. There's shots of tequila, so instead of the
Worm?
instead of the worm in there, they'll have
Oh, get out. Really?
they will have the cicada
Wow.
in there.
Cicada.
Yep.
Cool.
So-
Now,
would you do
interesting
it?
enough,
Would I? I will try anything. Well, I don't like tequila, so it would have to be something else. But I would definitely try it.
There's also a little note here. If you are allergic to shellfish, don't eat cicadas.
Really?
And make sure you cook them before eating.
Or drop them in 80 proof.
That'll cook.
Right,
them.
that'll
well,
do
they'll,
it too.
they'll be
That'll
cooked.
cook 'em.
They'll be cooked.
Yeah, that's pretty much like a that's
Really?
taken care of.
Shellfish. Wow,
Shellfish.
very interesting. So these little bugs are apparently a good thing.
They're a thing. They're quite the thing. And again, I'm so glad I'm not there because I hear they're super loud.
You've never heard them, Bridgette?
I've heard them,
Okay.
but not
To this extent.
millions of them
Well,
in my yard.
I think we get a variety of cicada up here
We
or
do.
into Minnesota, don't we? Not
Yeah.
not the mega hatch, but we do get
No. Well,
cicadas up here.
Yeah, and we'll hear them towards dusk in the evenings. That's that noise you hear, that high humming sound.
Oh,
Right. But you don't have millions of them in your yard humming together like that.
little higher pitch though,
Yeah.
more
Yeah,
buggy,
I
less
swear.
froggy.
That's still that pig hanging out the window on the Geico commercial. I swear that's the same noise. See, I'm right. Totally right.
All right, well, we're out of here. We're back tomorrow, hopefully 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Coming up next, it's the Jay Thomas Show.